Well, I suppose I should give a sort of postscript to the video, the exciting video that I posted yesterday, entitled Me versus the Mall Cops. God. It never ceases to amaze me, certain things. How people with an authoritarian mindset will take the smallest, tiniest, most minuscule of events and will absolutely take it as far as they can go without any thought, without giving it any thought, without thinking to oneself, is this proportional? Is this proportional to the injury I've received? Something just kicks in with anyone with this cop mindset, with anyone with this mall cop mindset, this hall monitor mindset. It just, proportionality goes absolutely out the window. So what happened yesterday was I was sitting in the mall, minding my own business completely, and I was sitting in a section where there's comfy chairs, and so I was reclining in one comfy chair, trying to write, not being very successful at it, listening to music, so I had my shoes. I was wearing sneakers, and I had my shoes off, and I had my foot propped up on the little table thing, on the edge of the table thing, with my sock feet, so Mr. Paul Blart comes over, and by the way, he was the one I was. If you're wondering, he was the one that I was mostly addressing in the video yesterday. He's the heavy-set fellow who I call the masked one. I call him O Masked One in that video from yesterday, and he's mostly just staying mum with his. So he comes over and he says something, in a tone that I didn't really care for. He tells me I need to put my foot back in my. I need to put my shoes back on, take my foot off of the table. And I sort of laughed at him and asked him who he was or something like that. I don't remember exactly how the conversation went, but I treated him with the contempt that I felt he deserved, and I still feel that he deserves. But I did what he said. I put my foot back in my shoe, took it off of the table, and I said, "Okay, now go away." And it was that was the thing that ratcheted things back up to, on a scale of 1 to 10 to about 70,000. It was me saying, "Okay, now go away." Note that I didn't cuss him out. Note that I didn't, I guess I was belligerent, but I didn't really, and I was definitely disrespectful, but it could have been just sort of a thing like, "Hey, you don't have to talk to me like that, I'm just doing my job." Could have said that, and I would have said, "All right, fine," probably, and that would have been that. But instead of me saying, "Okay, now go away," that's when he radios his superiors and tells them we got a problem here. And that's when it became necessary to expel me from the mall. Okay, because I said what I said, because I treated him with a disdain that he quite richly deserves. So then everything took place that you saw on camera, the exchange that happened, and eventually I did get up and I left, but by that, and you know, I thought, well, okay, I'll be the bigger man here, because this is just so silly, so ridiculous. So I walked over to the communist bookstore, i.e. Barnes and Noble, and I made a couple of purchases there because that was what I was intending to do for Father's Day, to buy a couple of books for my father. Actually, it's for his birthday. His birthday is tomorrow. And then these mall cops in their stupid yellow uniforms and their stupid black masks over their mouths, I see them start to appear in the bookstore. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm just getting these books for my dad, and you know, I successfully purchased them. But then once I walked outside, guess who was there? An actual policeman was there. An actual policeman was there in the parking lot outside the mall, outside the communist bookstore. I managed to find a couple of non-communist books to buy for my father. And no, not just one. There were like 3 cops that were there. The mall cops had called the mall cops by proxy. You know, look. Here's my take on it. Here's my take on these authority figures, these stooges, these goons. All the world is a mall, and every cop that you meet is a mall cop. Look, I know there are people in law enforcement who are probably good people, who probably got involved because they wanted to do the right thing or whatever, I guess, but I don't really care right now, because I have absolute loathing and contempt for cops. I have never in my life had an experience where a cop has helped me. Okay? Maybe there was one time where there was actually a break-in at a house. This was a few years ago, and a cop came and asked me some questions, and I answered them, and then he left, and nothing was ever done about it, or no culprit was ever found. So in that case, I guess the cop meant well. He was trying to help, but you know, great investigating, Officer Krupke. You know, sterling stuff. But that was the only time in my life that I've seen a cop who was trying just to do something other than be a nuisance, to be a pest, to be someone trying to lord it over you. Every other experience I have ever had with any kind of cop has been, and they're all, often they're just sort of like, hey, I'm being friendly here, but it's always with this undertone of condescension that's visible to me. It shines forth, and I do not ignore it. I cannot ignore it. Always with this notion that, oh, we're dealing with somebody here. Oh, you're arguing with me. You don't argue with me. Like this kind of arrogance, thinking that wearing a uniform and having a badge gives them some kind of I don't know. I guess strictly speaking, it does give them some kind of authority, but that it gives them some kind of moral authority. That it means that some kind of respect is forthcoming. Respect needs to be earned, and it was not. It has never been earned for anyone who's a cop. So look, I know people in law enforcement. There's people in law enforcement who are good, but I don't fucking care. You guys can be insulted. I don't care. I don't like cops. All right? All cops are mall cops. The entire world is a mall, and every cop is a mall cop. So I get greeted with this guy outside the mall. Things just had escalated. Not because I even acceded to the mall cop's demand that I put my shoe back on, that I take my socked foot off of the little coffee table thing. I did what he said, but it was just the fact that I didn't treat him with respect afterwards. That I said, "Now go away." That was what sealed my fate. Okay, and that was what not only sealed my fate with these goons in the mall, these stupid looking mall cops, these fat I guess I shouldn't be too mean here with I don't generally like to make fun of people's physical appearances, but I don't know. The guy could have used a few more turns on the treadmill and a few less donuts, maybe. I mean, you can go back and look at the footage, confirm that for yourself. Not that I'm in the best of shape, but I'm number one, I'm not a mall cop. I'm not a cop, and number two, I'm not fat like this guy was fat. But anyway, that's a little petty, but I don't care. I'm not feeling magnanimous right now. And again, you can just, if you don't like it, you can just either stop watching this video, or I don't know, keep watching and just deal with it. I'm not going to be magnanimous in any way towards anyone in law enforcement right now. Okay, so this guy, it's like the real okay, there's 3 cops outside, but there's one guy who's like leading the whole thing, and he's trying to get me to sign this sheet of paper. He's trying to get me to tell him tell him my name, and I give him a fake name at first because he doesn't, screw them. I don't have to tell anybody who I am. I don't have to reveal my identity to anybody. I didn't do anything of a criminal nature. They call it trespassing. I was in a public place and I said something mildly rude to a big fat mall cop whose ego was even bigger than his stomach, and that was what got me in now I'm being talked to by an actual cop outside of an actual police car, and he's doing this whole they do this like conciliatory thing. That's the thing about that's another thing that I loathe about cops. They do this conciliatory, like, oh well, you're just trying to like they're trying to talk you down or something, like, oh, we've got an unstable person here, but we've got to we're going to use our negotiator skills to try to but after I gave him a false name, then he threatened me with forgery. He said he was going to make me sign a piece of paper which said that I had to stay out of the mall for a certain amount of time. Not that I don't care ever to go back to that mall anyway, so whatever. But he said, that it would be a felony if I were to sign my name on that sheet of paper, and it was a false name. And so I told them my real name. I'm still mad at myself for doing that. I wish I hadn't done that. Because how are they, oh, this is forgery is a felony. How do they prove that I'm not the name that I'm saying I am? How do they prove that? The thing was, they were also looking up my name on their scanner thing. All this, I hadn't even, it wasn't even a case of me going, 80 in a 65 zone or something like that. This was just all the purpose of this entire thing was just people with an authoritarian mindset trying to put somebody who doesn't just wreck their rod, who doesn't just say yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, of course sir, to put somebody like that in their place. That was what it was all about. Okay, so I'm mad at myself for doing this, but because I didn't actually have any ID on me, and I could have just said I was whoever. And when they said they couldn't find my address, I could have just said, well, I don't know what to say to that. But I didn't want to. I actually just wanted to extract myself at this point. I wasn't going to be pulled into the police station, over some crap like this. I wasn't going to get physical, obviously. Because that would have, I'm smart enough to know that would have been counterproductive. And I wasn't going to, I didn't. So if they were going to threaten me with some criminal offense, some trumped up charge, which I know they do, routinely, because the law is a joke. Look at who's still wandering around free. That was a mirthless chuckle, by the way, in case you're wondering. Look at the kind of people out there who have committed terrible crimes who are still walking around free because they're protected by the system, because the system is so corrupt. So anyhow, the guy's trying to be after I tell him, I tell him my actual name, he's like, well, now I'm not sure who you are. Now you could be anybody. You could be somebody, you could be a terrorist from Alaska or something like that. And, I'm like, I said to him, I don't owe you, you can take your guilt trip that you're trying to lay on me, and you can shove it. I didn't say you could shove it, but I did say, I'm not interested in your guilt trip. If you're just going to continue on that line, I've got nothing more to say. I don't feel guilty at all about giving you false information about me. You don't have the right to know my name. You don't have the right to know my address. I gave you that under protest because I was just, I just want this to end. I'm tired of this harassment. And then he's like trying to well, now think about if you had somebody in your house and they took their shoes off and they put their socks up on the table. I would say, first of all, it's my house. It's not. I'm not hiring somebody to patrol my house and to let their petty egos get in the way of properly patrolling my house. Second of all, I wouldn't fucking care if somebody took their shoes off and put their feet up on a coffee table in my house. So the metaphor is not in any way apt. Thirdly, this is a public place. Technically, it's owned privately though. So they got me there. They can declare anybody a trespasser if they don't like it. I became a trespasser once this security guard, once this mall cop took a dislike to me and my attitude. I became a trespasser. Anyhow. So yeah, if the cops aren't if and I told the guy, like, you're just being a glorified mall cop. You know, you've got you here. You've got these two other cops standing next to you. There are probably actual crimes happening. You know, Savannah is a crime-ridden city. There are probably some actual shootings happening right now while you're attending to this bullshit. And of course, that didn't seem to faze him at all. It didn't seem to make him, you know, feel like this was like. But I pointed out, look, this is a silly way to spend your time, isn't it? All right, so anyhow, that was how it ended. I signed their stupid paper, so I can't go back to that. I'm banished from the mall. I was kicked out of paradise for a certain length of time, but I'm never going back there now. Anyway, I don't care. So I don't know. I know I'll have people come after me here and say that I'm, you know, I know people will use this as an excuse to pile on me, or to say that I was just being stupid, or that I should have just said yes sir and done what I was told, and, you know, had assumed an acceptable tone with this goon, this thug, this fat slob. But nope, no apologies. Suck it, haters. That's it. That's my final word on this matter. Goodbye.